Welcome back. Miss Universe 2019 Zozibini Tunzi is soon expected to unveil her foundation. The Zozibini Tunzi Foundation will primarily focus on education for women and children, among many other things. For more on this, we are joined by Zozibini herself. Zozibini, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure. So let's take it back to your days of winning Miss SA and ultimately Miss Universe. What was the objective in terms of what you wanted to bring on the stage and in terms of influencing South Africans and ultimately the universe when you took over the crown? But of course, we were hit by COVID-19 and many of that work didn't come to fruition.
Yes, so my reasoning behind Miss South Africa and Miss Universe, there were always so many things that pushed me there, but one of the biggest reasons was that I'd always wanted my voice and my platform to have an impact. And so when you get platforms like Miss South Africa and Miss Universe, you know that people pay attention and they're listening. And so that was always a plan for me to be able to get there, you know, not to think that I'm the most beautiful woman in the world or in South Africa, but to actually use it as a platform of leadership and influence. And so that was one of the biggest reasons. And yes, I wasn't able to do some of the things that I'd intended to do because of COVID, but now is the perfect time for me to be able to step into those shoes and do the things that I had envisioned and planned to do. And I'm very excited to be doing that through the Zozibini Tunzi Foundation.
Now, you're the girl that really influenced many of us to take up space. And I'm sure that has been a theme in your life ever since then and maybe even before. How do you believe this foundation will assist in taking up that space?
This foundation will do exactly that, you know, help other women, young girls and children take up space, because the way that we've modeled it is through my own journey as well, a journey of being able to get through an education, and by getting an education, becoming empowered. And then as soon as I was empowered, I was able to then influence other people. And so that's what we're hoping to achieve here, just to equip people with education, whether it's informal or formal education, because then they can use it as that tool to become change agents and leaders within their communities. And so this is how we're planning on taking up space and using all of those tools to becoming those people who are, you know, standout people in our communities.
Just take us through the back-end work that comes in putting together a foundation of this magnitude. And I can imagine as a Miss Universe, you carry that title for the rest of your life. So whatever it is that you do, no pressure, needs to truly have that kind of influence of that of a Miss Universe. So take us through the research and the work that went behind putting together the foundation.
Absolutely. I firstly wanted to be there in every meeting, in every single little thing that we did, because, you know, this is like the work of my heart and purpose. The first thing was to have the heart for it and to want to do good and to want to use my voice and influence to help those that I can and to always contribute positively to humanity. And so that was the first step in making sure that this is something that I really wanted to do, because if I don't have it at heart, then it becomes difficult, even in difficult days, to push forward. And the second thing that we did is we wanted the foundation to be the sum of one. And what I mean by that is different organizations, entities, and people coming together to achieve one goal. I always make a joke of just growing up with my sisters and realizing that we were so much more powerful when it was the four of us than just one. And so just wanting to put this into the foundation as well and saying, we're not here to reinvent the wheel. We're here to work, you know, with change agents who are already in these fields doing the work, but saying, let's come together and collaborate, because we get so much more further. And so that was the research that we came to and the model that we chose for the foundation, to say, hey, listen, let's hold each other's hands if we want to make it further. And so that's pretty much how we, you know, got to where we are today.
And that's sum of one. Just take us through who are these people that you've partnered with in making sure that this will be a success?
So we will have an official launch in the media press to be talking about those things and those people that we will be working with.
Can you give us a
and the type of projects that we're going to be going into. But it's definitely people and organizations who have the same, you know, moral compass and the same goals that they want to achieve within the gender equality space, because that's what we're working with, you know, gender equality, you know, social development, and just making sure that we're empowering young people and women and young girls with the educational tools. So these are the kinds of people we're working with who have the same kind of vision and mindset. That's all I can say about that for now.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. I mean, if you look at our Millennium Development Goals when it comes to equality, as the African continent, do you believe we're making strides? And if not, what do we need to improve on?
I do think we are making strides, no matter how little, they are. There are strides, but I still feel like there's so much more, that can be done. And one that starts with having young people. It starts with having women in leadership positions. Because when we have these young people and we have a mixture of young women with all of these men in these rooms, the decisions work differently. Because if we want to move forward as a country, as a continent, as the world, it makes sense to have everyone in the room, to listen to all these different perspectives, and only then can we truly move forward. Because if we have the same kind of people in the room talking together and going nowhere, it really does nothing. And so I think we've done a lot of talking. We've done a lot of this is what we're going to do and this is what we're going to do, and nothing much really is happening. And so I think we really need to start implementing those things and bridging this gap of gender inequality. I think that's where it starts. And it's accountability, essentially, from our leaders to look around and be real about what's happening around us. And so the sooner they are accountable about the realities of our continent, the faster we're able to move forward.
Most certainly, and I'm sure active citizenry within that accountability plays a very big part as well. How much of a support base are you looking to have from South Africa in terms of people interacting with your foundation? Because, I mean, to have a foundation is one thing, but for it to start doing the work with the people that's intended to do the work with is something else.
Absolutely. I always say sometimes you don't have to be the government to govern.
You're right.
We can play our part as South Africans in trying to look at what can I do as an individual to make sure that I am at least contributing, to humanity and positivity for South Africa. And so these are definitely things that we will be doing with the foundation as well, not just only working with these entities and organizations, but seeing how we as South Africans as well can come together and making sure that we're contributing to this world that we're trying to better as well.
I mean, many of the things that are happening in this world that we're trying to better, a battle that many of people are suffering from is mental health. And just the awareness around mental health, some of the stigmas around mental health. What also was thrust in the spotlight is the death of who was a dear friend of yours, a Miss USA at the time that you were in New York during your time as Miss Universe, and we know that she suffered a lot from mental health issues. What sort of misconceptions were you able to dispel, especially when it came to Chesley's life?
Sure. I think when I look at Chesley's life and story, it just made me want to understand more about mental health. I think the first thing that hit me was, I don't think I know what mental health looks like. I thought I knew, but I don't know what mental health looks like. This is someone who was the closest friend to me, who I lived with for almost 2 years, and that was something I couldn't pick up. And so it does not look like how we think it looks like. I think that's the biggest myth. People can be able to operate on a day-to-day and laugh and be lively, but it's a psychological thing. It's a sickness, and I think that's what we're missing. These people, it's a disease that needs to be treated as any other disease. And so psychology, looking for help from professionals who are able to treat and diagnose these things. So I think that's the biggest misconception in thinking that it's not a disease and not taking it seriously, especially as Africans. I think it's such a huge stigma within the mental health realm that we think if you want to go see a psychiatrist, there's something wrong, or you're airing our family's dirty laundries and stuff like that.
Yeah. Is this an issue that your foundation will be touching on?
This is definitely one of the issues that we can try to tackle on, because when we are looking at gender equality, it's something that does, affect women. It's something that we've seen, especially during COVID, because everything, if we're looking at financial independence, if we're looking at women being abused, all of those things do contribute one way or the other to mental health. And so I think by tackling, empowering women with this educational skills and trying to get them financially stable, in a way we are contributing towards, helping mental health. And so one way or the other, these things are going to weave together.
What legacy would you want this foundation to leave behind?
I want this foundation to be something that people can look at and feel like it's possible to achieve the things that they want to achieve, because that's one of the driving forces behind it. Looking at people who feel like they are hopeless in their situations and not being able to accomplish the things that they want to do and move forward. And so that's the legacy that I wanted to leave, a legacy of my story as well, of watching my triumphs and watching my struggles, and having that reflected into the foundation as well. And I think that's the legacy that I really wanted to leave. And also I wanted to leave people feeling like their life is that of purpose, and that we're not just in this world to simply exist, and that our lives mean something and they're purposeful, and that we should always try to use them as we can to not only better ourselves, but those around us, our communities, the whole world, and just humanity in its whole. And so I'm hoping that's what it will do.
Oh, absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Zozibini. You continue to be a beam of inspiration for many South Africans and many more across the universe, and that's why you'll always be our Miss Universe. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and all the best with your foundation.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That was Zozibini Tunzi, who is now starting a foundation called the Zozibini Foundation, which will focus on gender equality and ensuring that women and children across the globe are incorporated in ensuring that they better their lives.